Hello everybody. I'm here to bring you another dream. This is probably going to be the last one of my series unless I have some new ones. But this one's going to be called Baked Beans. I know it's kind of a funny name, but there's a reason why. Now this is kind of a long dream, so I might make this in two parts. Well anyways, in this dream, I was at an airport driving around on one of those little four-wheeled vehicles used for towing airplanes around. They call them a tug. And I was there at the airport, and I was trying to find a building, and I don't know why, but I was just trying to find this building, like I had a sense of urgency to find this building. So I drove around the airport, and I couldn't find it, and I got thinking, well, maybe if I go up into the sky, I can see a little better. So with it being a nice, pretty blue sky, nice sunny day outside, I figured I could see real good. So I shot straight up off the machine there, probably about 1,000 or so feet up in the air over the airport. And I was just kind of floating around up there, just looking all around. And probably about a half a mile, 3/4 mile off to the edge of the airport, it was on the very edge of the property. And there was a white building over there. And as soon as I seen that, I was like, that's where I need to be. Like I had the sense I had to be there. So within a blink of an eye, I shot down there really quick. And got down there and I landed on my feet. And I walked around the building and tried to find a way in. I found a garage door that was open, like a loading door or something. And I walked in there, and when I walked in there and looked around, there was like a banquet hall was set up. It had a bunch of tables all over the place and chairs and stuff like that. And along one wall had a bunch of tables set up with all kinds of catering food on the tables. And when I'd walked in there, there was a Mexican guy who walked in the room. I guess he's one of the caterers because he had a caterer's outfit on. And when he see me, he stopped and froze in his tracks. And he just stared at me. He didn't say a word. But anyways, right after that, a voice in my head said, grab the baked beans. Take the baked beans. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay, I'll do what you tell me to do. So I go over there and I pick up the big old gigantic tin, I have the big catering tins that's full of baked beans. So I picked it up and I just walked back out the door. And when I was walking around inside the building, I seen a dumpster on my left, so I walked past the dumpster and just dropped right in there, just right into the dumpster and just kept on walking. Then at that point I could have flew out of there and left, but something basically, I had the intuition to stay around there for a little while. So I started walking off across this field, out there in the airport. It's a nice green grassy mowed field. And out in the middle of this field at this point I heard some noises like rockets or something, like missiles or something. And I looked over the horizon there, from off the distance there I could see these smoke trails in the sky coming at me. And they got closer and closer, and there's about maybe a dozen of them, maybe 15 of them. And they're all making all kinds of noise like a rocket would make, and they were all flying right at me. And so I got thinking, I was like, well guys, no, this ain't gonna work. You guys ain't doing this. So I waved my hand out in front of the missiles, and they were still a couple hundred yards off, and every one of them exploded in midair. So much to the point where I actually felt a concussion from that far away from these missiles. So I walked a little further, then all of a sudden I heard some more of the missiles from the other direction. So I turned my head, I looked, and there's about 5 or 6 of them from this other direction, and I did the same thing. I waved my hand out in front of them, the next thing I know, they all blew up, and like again, I felt a concussion from them. So then I turned my head back around to the left to continue walking where I was, And right at that point, one of those missiles on that first round, apparently I missed one of them. It went off right by my head. It blew me off my feet, and I landed on my back on the ground. But I was like in a daze, like somebody rung my bell. And a bunch of vehicles came driving out there real quick, and some people started gathering all around me, and they were all standing around me, and they were like looking at me and stuff, and I could see them. There's probably about 24 people or so. Some were cops, or some were airport peoples, just different people that worked around the airport. Some of them were actually there was some military people there too. But they was looking at me, and they was like asking each other, "What is that?" I heard one person say, "Oh, that's a human." Another person said, "That's not a human. Humans don't have wings." Another person says, "That's an angel." And another person said, "No, that's not an angel. Angels ain't real." They were saying all these kinds of things, and so they tried to get closer to me to pick me up, I guess, to help me out, to do whatever they could for me, I guess. Their nurturing nature. But when they got within a couple of yards of me, all of a sudden there was like an invisible barrier that stopped them. They couldn't get to me. And as soon as they made contact with this barrier, it's like a dome was over top of me. It's kind of like a force field, for lack of a better word. And when they touched it, it shimmered like a different colors of iridescence. It was like the iridescent colors moved all around the dome, and it's really cool looking, real pretty looking. And then every time they tried to get closer to me, they hit that dome, and it would start shimmering again, like they couldn't get to me. Well, anyways, after about a minute or so of them trying to get to me like that, I just kind of like blacked out. Like I finally passed out, I guess. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a room laying on this stainless steel table. And there was a doctor, I guess it was a doctor, he had a white lab coat on. And he was talking to some like colonel or general who was in the army, because he had dress greens on. I don't know if you know what dress greens are. Some of the military people probably do. But as an army guy. And he was talking to that scientist guy all the way across the room, probably about 20 yards from where I was laying on his table. And I could hear him, once I had woke up, I could hear them talking over there. And the general, or where he was, the military guy, asked the doctor, he's like, "Well, what's up? Did we kill it? What's going on with it?" And that doctor was telling that military guy, he's like, "I don't understand it. I don't get it. There's not a scratch on him, nowheres." And that army guy's like, that's physically impossible. That missile went off right at his head. But the doctor's like, "No, there's not a scratch on him. He just got knocked out is all." And the army guy was telling the other guy in the lab coat, "Well, just keep me informed what happens. Keep me updated." And he walked out of the room. And the guy in the white lab coat came walking over to me. When he started coming walking over to me, I sat up on the table. Actually, it was like sitting on a little kid table. It felt like it was a little tiny table. But anyways, I was sitting on the edge of that table, and that lab coat guy, the doctor, walked over to me, and he asked me, he was like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I feel fine." And he's like, "I can't believe you didn't get killed or even hurt." And I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "The Heavenly Father is watching over me. He done told me once already that he is. Not in this dream, but another dream." But so anyways, I get up, and I'm standing there. My head's like touching the ceiling in this room. And this doctor guy, he asked me, he's like, well, how old are you? I have no clue why he asked me that. But I gave him an answer, and I didn't have to think about the answer. I just rattled off right at the top of my head. I was like instantaneously I knew. Without delay, I told him, I'm 423,000 years old. And he was like shocked and amazed.